Today's episode is about making projections for 20 years. And you may be feeling like, Gabi, I barely know what next month is going to look like. Why would I think 20 years ahead? The projection I've made is in having passive income of an estimate of about 2. Let me get into my thought process about this projection. Now, first of all, this projection starts on the foundation of having 3.1 million as the initial investment. So, hi guys, welcome to the channel. This is the Personal Finance and Coffee podcast, and on this channel we talk about money and finances. We make the money, but how can we manage it in a way that helps us get to the goals that we have, so that we don't feel like 5 years later, 10 years later, I worked so hard but I don't see the progress. Let's break that cycle and work on the systems, the way we manage it, so that we attain the goals that we have. If this is something you find interesting, please like, please subscribe, so that you don't miss upcoming episodes. Now, today's episode is about making projections for 20 years. And you may be feeling like, Gabi, I barely know what next month is going to look like. Why would I think 20 years ahead? What if I'm not even there 20 years, 20 years feels so far away. And I know I get you guys. Let me start this episode by giving you a few disclaimers. One, I'm not a financial advisor. This is a normal average person making estimates and predictions. That is the first thing. I'm not an expert. So please take any advice I share with you with a grain of salt, because it may work for me, it may not work for me. What if this whole thing doesn't work in 20 years? But we'll see. The second thing that I wanted to put a disclaimer on is that I have come to peace that for me, this is a place that I find joy. And for me, it makes sense to me in my head. I find this exciting to make these projections and estimations, and not everyone looks at it that way, and it's okay. If you're one of those people that are curious about things like this, please, your feedback is welcome. You can look at this plan that I have and you're like, Gabi, you have some loopholes here. You can improve in this way. Please share with me, guys. I would really love to improve this 20-year projection that I've made. And the projection that I'm making is looking at having passive income. Now, this comes with a few disclaimers. In 20 years, this does not factor in inflation. The value of what 2.8 million will be able to buy in 20 years may be nothing. We all know how the price of everything is increasing. That's the next disclaimer I want to make, that this projection does not factor in inflation. Now, another disclaimer. You might be feeling that disclaimers are so many, but I need to put them all out there. This for me is just interesting, it's curious, and I'm just sharing with you. I feel like you're my friends. I don't get to talk about these things with so many people in my everyday life because it's like weird. But I feel like here, I feel like it's safe. Like, I feel like the people who choose to come and watch are actually interested in these things. So please allow me make my assumptions, and please share with me. If there are things that you're like, Gabi, this is off, this is off, this is off, let me know so that I can also make edits and improvements. I'm open to learning. I don't have it all figured out. Now, the final thing that I wanted to make projections on, the final thing I wanted to make a disclaimer about is that this is not the only thing I'm doing. In 20 years, guys, the problems will have increased. More medical bills, I don't know what. It's not much, but I'm just saying that this is not the only thing that I'm doing. There will be other things. There may even be future opportunities of making so much more money, and I'll look at this like pocket change. Who knows? But this was purely out of curiosity of like, what if? Now that I've put all my disclaimers on the table, let me get into my thought process about this projection. Now, first of all, this projection starts on the foundation of having 3.1 million as the initial investment. So this whole projection starts on the foundation of 3.1 million as the initial investment. So you get 3.1 million and you invest it in a 15-year bond. You invest it in a 15-year bond. And that 15-year bond will give you an interest. And then they pay out the interest every 6 months. I'm not stating percentages of annual interest rate because they really do vary depending on when you're watching this video. But you can have an estimate of maybe like 15% net after tax. It's really an estimate, guys. Like I've made all my disclaimers, but that is the estimate. So every 6 months, you're receiving dividends. You're receiving interest. Every 6 months, you receive an interest of maybe about 250,000. That's an estimate. Like I said, like 220K every 6 months from that investment of 3.1 for the next 15 years. Now, the first step has been to buy the bond. The second step is going to be to now open up a life insurance policy where you pay the premium every 6 months. Now, premium of every 6 months is a minimum of 600,000 because minimum is 100,000 every month, but you can choose to pay it every 6 months. So the target is that because they give you a schedule of when you're going to get your money, you start the policy when you receive the first interest after 6 months from that 15-year bond that we talked about. Why is this important? Because there's a story time. There's a time I made a 2-year bond, and the 2 years ended and I received my money, but I could not see something tangible that I had done with the interest that I received from that bond. Not that I did not know where the money went. At the time, there were other things. I probably had a wedding or my kids needed something, like life happened and I spent the money. But I did not like that feeling of, like it did not compound and I didn't like that feeling. So this is why I've put the life insurance policy to put that into check, so that the money that you earn from the interest does not get spent, and you're able to have the compound effect work in your favor, especially since this is a 20-year projection. So now you have 220,000 to put towards the 600,000. So there's a difference. When you get that 600 and you divide by the 220, the difference you get is what you will need to pay on that policy. But when you get that difference and you divide it by 6 months, you get how much you need to have saved every month. And when you break it down like that, it's not a lot of money. It's less than 100,000 every month, which you can somehow, save up. One of the things that I want to do, I made an episode about winning in the margin. I'm saving, I have a piggy bank where I'm collecting my coins. So one of my strategies is that over the 6 months, I keep collecting the coins. And then I see how much I have in those coins. So when I get the dividends from the bond, plus the coins that I'm saving, which if you do not save those coins, you'll spend the coins. So for me, I'm just looking at it as saving in the margin. So you have the interest from the bond, plus the coins in the piggy bank. And then the difference is what I now have to have in cash to top up and make that payment. That's the strategy that I have. So starting from January, I bought a piggy bank. Those centenary piggy banks, the Be Money Wise piggy banks. I bought it and I've been putting in coins. It's almost full. So now, by the time it's the 6 month reach, I'll be able to do that and see how much I need to top up on. Now, going forward, I'm going to divide that amount by 6 months, and in my monthly budget, which I've talked about so many times, I'll have a link. In my monthly budget, I will allocate that amount towards the premium that is coming up in the next 6 months. Now, this life policy is 5 years, but remember the bond is 15 years. Why have I said 5 years? Because you can have a policy for 15 years. But the reason why I'm making it 5 years is because the interest that you earn from a life policy is not a lot. It's like 3% or 4%. That's my estimate. It's not a lot of interest. But why I'm still choosing to put the money there is because the purpose of that policy is to hold the money, and when you get the payout, it comes out as a lump sum. It comes out after the 5 years, it will come out as a lump sum, which I may not be able to do by myself on my account. I know, I talk about finances, and I consider myself to be fairly disciplined with money, but to tell you that I'll have the money there after those 5 years as a lump sum, I'll be lying to myself. So I'm putting that as a check for myself when it comes to that. Now, so 5-year policy. Now, fast forward. 5 years have ended, you've received your money after those 5 years. Now that lump sum of money that you're going to get. Meanwhile, I've done all this whole projection in a Google Sheet document. I know I'm weird. I've done this whole projection in a Google Sheet document. And I don't know if it will work. But this is I'm going to try and put it into an Excel and a Google Sheet. So if you're curious, I'm going to leave a link where it's going to be for free. This one I'm not going to charge. Like if you're just curious to see if my numbers make sense, I'll just leave a link in the description for anyone who wants. Maybe you want to put in your estimates. I'll have a link where you can get the Excel version and the Google Sheet version. So in case you're curious. But anyway, 5 years have ended. You've got your money from the life policy. After getting your money from the life policy, now that lump sum, you buy a 10-year bond. Now the reason why you're buying a 10-year bond at that point is so that the 10-year bond can mature at the same time as the 15-year bond. Because remember now the 5-year bond, the 15-year bond has 10 more years to go. So you buy a 10-year bond so that both of them can mature at the same time. You get what I mean? Now, I'm not using exact amounts because, guys, I'm not looking at the document. I don't want to start throwing out numbers that are not accurate. And there's so many other factors that come into play. So I'm just explaining the general concept without actual figures, other than the starting amount of this calculation. So you've bought your 10-year bond. Now, remember now you're getting the interest from the bonds, from the 15-year bond, and also from the 10-year bond. Now you start another policy, a 5-year policy. Now that policy, you're going to put in, you're going to get the 220 from the 15-year bond, and whatever the interest is from the 10-year bond, you combine them together, and then you can top up a little bit to round off and have what you're going to pay as premium for your next 5-year bond. And remember, it's important for that premium not to be monthly, but to be every 6 months, so that you pay it when the interest comes in from the bonds. The whole, like so that you keep the interest compounding. So when that interest comes in, from the 15-year, from the bonds, from the 15 and 10, you pay it into the policy for 5 years. So after those 5 years, that policy is going to mature. And when that policy matures, the 15-year bond will have gone 10 years, so it will have another 5. The 10-year bond will have gone 5 years, and it will have another 5 years. But now remember, the policy has matured. So guys, you buy another bond. I know. You buy another bond, and when you buy another bond, this is going to be a 5-year bond, so that they mature at the same time, and so they mature all at the same time. Now, of course, as the duration of the bonds reduces, the interest you get from the bonds reduces as well. But remember, why we are doing this is our target is to have passive cash flow projections for 20 years. Because if you buy a bond that is longer than that period, the dynamics change. Now, this is going to be a 5-year bond, so they mature at the same time. Now when you buy the 5-year bond, now you have interest from the 15, 10, and 5. So we do it all over again. We buy a policy for 5 years. So now when it hits the mark of 15 years, when it hits the 15 mark years, you'll have the policy maturing of the 15-year bond, you'll have the 10-year bond maturing, you'll have the 5-year bond maturing, and then you'll have the life policy of 5 years maturing. Now all that money is like on your account. So now this is where you can decide if you want to have one cumulative 5-year bond. This is now like the final lap. You make the 5-year bond and the 5-year policy so that they now all mature at the same time. Now at this point, it's now up to you. You can choose to have all the money in a unit trust, and then you withdraw it, like you pay yourself a salary every month as and when you need it. That is one of the versions. The next version is to buy a bond that is much longer and will pay you dividends every 6 months. But this time you're not going to start a policy you're not going to start a life policy. No. Now we're at the point of eating the fruits. We are harvesting. Now when you receive your bond, your interest from the bond, at that point, you move that money to a unit trust so that now for the next 6 months, you're able to pay yourself a salary. So you just keep, now meanwhile remember, the unit trust is also giving you interest on that money that is in the unit trust, and it will compound. So every month, you just process money from the unit trust and you pay yourself a salary every 6 months, Whether you're sleeping at home or you're in the village, you just pay yourself interest you pay yourself a salary every 6 months. That's in the next 20 years. Guys, that's the whole plan. I don't know if it's going to work, but now that's my thought process. Like that's the map. Like those those maps when they're going to war in Game of Thrones and you're looking at. So for me, this is my map of my 20-year projection. That's my thought process. Now some tips that I'm going to show you. Might be some concerns how are you going to stick to this for 20 years, Gabby? Now, 20 years feels like a lot of time. I agree with you. But I think because I've been journaling for a very long time. I have an episode on that. I've been journaling for a very long time. I started in 2019. Now, when I look back at my journal entries from 5 years ago, it puts, the way I look at time shifts. Back then, if you told me 5 years in the future I would be here, I would have felt like, but where am I? It's so far away. But now that I'm looking back 5 years, I feel like it's not that far back, you know? So for me, like, that's what triggered me. The looking back triggered me to look forward. That is where my perspective of time is a bit different. That's why I'm thinking about it this way. And also, that's why I'm looking at it differently. Now, the other thing that this plan is not put into consideration, life happens. Life happens, and who knows what will happen in the next 20 years. I may not even be here, God forbid, I pray I'm here, guys, but I don't know what will happen. But because I don't know what will happen, does not eliminate the benefits of making the plan. It may go according to plan, it may not go according to plan. Who knows? Maybe I will come here to give you updates on this projection every every year, every 5 years, I don't know. Things I'm learning, things that I thought would work and would not work. But I'm also making this video for myself, like for future Gabby, who's going to come back and, you know, look at the plan that I had laid out to remind myself of what I had set, and then I keep making adjustments, because I may even be earning so much more money back by that time. Like, who knows? But anyway, that's my thought process. Now, that is one of the things to consider. Life will happen. Now, the next thing to consider is that how do you keep on track in 20 years? Because if you set a goal in January and by the time it is March or by the time it is March or June, you've forgotten about the goal and you've moved on, how will I be able to keep this goal top of mind for the next 20 years? This is my strategy. 1, I check my email every day. Like, guys, I check my email every day. Right now, it's a habit that I'm in for work purposes, for communicate, like life. I check my email every day. So one of my intentions is to schedule an email to myself. To come out every 6 months. I want to schedule these emails. It's going to take me some time, but I want to schedule them in such a way that they come out just before the interest from the bond comes out. So that if at that point I am considering diverting the money, this email comes out before the money comes to remind me of the plan that I had set. Of Gabby, do not divert it. So I will, like now, like if I bought the 15-year bond, I sit down and I schedule the emails that are going to come out every 6 months for the next 15 years. The email doesn't have to change. I'll just do copy paste, change the date. 6 months, because they give you a calendar, so I'll have the dates. So copy paste, insert the dates. And then for myself, because I've made this video, I'm going to link this video in all those emails. For future Gabby, of like, Gabby, watch this was the plan. Gabby, watch this was the plan. That is what I'm thinking. And it is not set in stone. I may learn more information in the future that will be helpful in this process. Even now as I share with you, please leave in the comments your thought processes and your feedback. There are things I may not have considered. I may have some blind spots in this layout that I've made. But please enlighten me. I'm very open to learning. So that is how I plan to keep on track, through my email. I also have reminders on Google Calendar that will come in whenever the interest is coming out, and also remind me about the email and to keep me on track. For me, that is how I'm going to do it. Now, I also have a planner that I have an episode about how I use the planner to keep consistent. Every time that my calendars are in 3 months chunks, so in one notebook, I have 3 months. So if one of those 3 months is when the dividends are coming out, I will write it in pencil that dividends are coming out. How I will remember is because when I'm setting it up, I always refer back to the Google Calendar to write down what is coming up in the next 3 months. Anyway, that is my strategy to keep on track. But I'll give you updates about how it goes. This is theoretical, and I'm also making this episode for like my kids. You know, I think it would be nice to see like what was my mom thinking, how did she get where she is, what was her thought process. So I'm sharing it with you to learn. I'm making it for myself. I hope we can all benefit, you know. So please guys, if you found this valuable, Please like, please subscribe so that you don't miss upcoming episodes. I'm going to leave an episode about what my current money management system is on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to leave it here if you're curious about that. And overall, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. I cannot wait. I look forward to reading these comments every morning, and I respond to all of them. If you've watched till the end, guys, please leave like in the emoji like an image of, I don't know, graphs. You know those graphs of the stocks. Anyway, clearly I'm weird. But anyway, yeah, whatever emoji, please leave it in the description so that yeah, it's nice to see those who watch till the end. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye guys.